Hello, wonderful. This is Sarah. I'm here with Fabi Paolini, and we are going to talk about not wearing trauma on your t-shirt. If you've been through something tragic, or you work with people who have had tragic events, as Fabi does, or helping healers, right? We can get so stuck in just focusing on the problem, focusing on what went wrong, focusing on the dark things, rather than building a future, building what we want and moving forward into that new life. Hello, Fabi. How are you?
I'm super excited to be here. This is going to be so much fun.
I know we've gone back and forth on so many things, and
Exactly.
you are definitely a master on ensuring and differentiating people who have victim mentality and
Mhm.
people who are looking to grow and move forward. Can you kind of talk about the differences in those two people?
Yeah. So part of my focus is helping, business owners get a lot of clarity, or I like to say upgrade their messaging. And so that they can stop speaking to the people that are in victim mentality and start speaking to the people who are action takers and ready to move ready to move forward. And I always like to make it clear that there's a very big difference between being a victim and having victim mentality. And the big difference is that if you have victim mentality, it's all about somebody else's fault and how this happened to you, and this might be obviously in any field possible, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a trauma, or it can be whatever, but it's always somebody else's fault. Whereas if you are a victim, well, you might have had something happen to you, but you were taking ownership and saying, I'm not letting this define me. I think that one of the most clear examples that you can look at in the world from this is Oprah, right? Somebody who could have been or was a victim, but not victim mentality, still took action, still moved forward, and still focus on creating something really big. So what I like to tell people is that when you're creating marketing, your message, and you're looking to grow your business, it's really important for you to start speaking more to the people that are, I call them the driven heroes, the ones that are like, I'm ready to move forward. I have this vision. I have this thing that I really want. I have this big desire, and I'm going to move towards that. And then instead of speaking only to the problem, the pain, or the trauma, or the situation that they're in, and just agitating it as much as possible to make people feel really bad. We don't want that.
And on the beginning of this podcast, it says for people who are looking to get past the past,
Mhm.
real about the present, and serious about the future. And I think that speaks to your driven hero idea, right?
Exactly. That's 100% it. It's really about the ones that have, I feel like it's about thinking about the vision, right? What is the real desire? Because at the end of the day, we all have crap that we go through, or that we're constantly going through. And we have challenges, and we have triggers, and we have all of these things that are going on in our lives. And what we want to do is speak to the people who are like, okay, I have this going on. I have these obstacles, or I've had these obstacles in the past, but I know that I'm meant for more. And I know where I'm going. And I know and understand that everything that's happening to me is just part of the journey, but I know where I'm going. So for me, when we think about marketing ourselves and speaking to our ideal client, and being able to make an impact in the most effective way, it's about speaking to those that are ready to move into the future, or are already there or already walking towards it, but it's like they have that vision so clear and they're moving towards it no matter what. Does that make sense?
I see an angel and a devil, on the shoulder, right? Like, what's that
Mhm.
mentality? And I know that people who wear trauma on their t-shirts, right? And the worst thing that has ever happened to me is the most interesting thing that has ever happened to me,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Is you have a Disney character that you compare that to.
Yeah,
Who do you
I know.
compare
Yeah.
this?
So I call it the Ursula. And it's just one of those things that I was doing a live video one day, and I was like, I got it. It's the Ursula. And it's the Ursula from The Little Mermaid, who speaks to the poor, unfortunate soul. And which is obviously what we don't want to do, right? Just talking about, we were talking about this earlier. I have to save these people. Let me come in and save you. And I'm just talking all about the problem. Every piece of marketing is like, your life is horrible. Everything is going bad. And like you are depressed, stuck, overwhelmed. And it's like all these negative things. And you're basically speaking to the poor, unfortunate soul who, when you get on the phone with them and make a sale, they're like, can't afford you. I'm broke. And it's no surprise. You were literally calling them in. I was giving you an example earlier of a client that I'm working with right now. And literally yesterday I had my first call with her, and I was looking at some of her content, and she had in there something about like, like this kind of like, does this sound like you sort of thing that she was using on her website, on her marketing. And it said something like, you have a really hard time trusting your decisions. And I told her, do you think that if you're speaking to somebody who's having a hard time trusting their decisions, it's going to be easy for them to make a decision to hire you or not? And she was like, oh, that makes sense, right? So that's an example of you becoming that Ursula, speaking to the poor unfortunate soul, the person who can't even make decisions. That's not what we want. We want to speak to the person who, yes, has problems, but the vision is much stronger than the problem. So not the Ursula.
I have a childhood friend who was very funny. And when we were little, like in elementary school, she put oranges in her like sports bra. And then she sang the Ursula song, those poor unfortunate souls. And she's like shaking her oranges and all this stuff. I just always have that like.
That's so funny.
We talk about the Ursulas and those poor unfortunate souls. That's what's in this image of this little girl, like, with these oranges, like.
I love it. I'm glad that there's a remake coming out soon, because for the younger generation, I have to always explain to them there was this movie called The Little Mermaid and then the Ursula, but whatever. I think that makes sense to people, but now that the movie's coming out soon, I don't know when, it will be easier for me to make the analogy and people will be like, oh, I get it. I get why. But I get people sending me Ursula stuff all the time, which is really funny. And the cool thing too is that they will tell me like, oh my God, I'm the Ursula. They will hop on calls or send me messages and be like, I had not realized that I'm totally the Ursula, speaking to the poor unfortunate soul. No wonder I'm having a hard time making sales, or no wonder I'm not making as many sales as I want to. So anyways.
Well, and my next book, Problem Solved, Simple Habits for Complex Decisions, is all about getting that real clarity on what problem you're really trying to solve. And I know that's something else you and I align with. You're helping your clients get very specific about a very specific person that they can help. And I help people get very specific on a very specific problem they need to solve so they can move forward. Do you feel like that aligns?
100%. And I think that that's really the key to solving whatever situation you're going through, right? Whether it's personally or through your business, it's about understanding and getting very clear on what the problem is. Like most of the time people are solving the wrong problem. For example, they are.
No, don't skip over that.
Okay. I wasn't going to tell that story. I was going to say something else, but go ahead.
No, I want to say to you, most of the time, people are solving the wrong problem. And I know before you and I hopped on here, we were having a conversation about that. It's like when you see I know you've looked at my website in years past, you see something and it's like, oh, obviously her messaging is off here, right? She has a messaging problem, for example. And I see someone's like life situation. It's like, whoa. Obviously, here's the real problem to solve. You're getting distracted.
It's very easy from the outside. Yeah.
Yes. And so I do want to say, if anyone, whether you're a business owner frustrated about your messaging or, someone trying to solve problems in your life, you just can't build momentum. It could very likely be that you're trying to solve the wrong problem.
Exactly. And what I was going to say is that, for example, one thing that happens very often is that you have an offer, a service that you're selling, and you get on a sales call with people, with one person, 10 people, and they're telling you the price is too high, they can't afford it. People think, well, maybe what I need to do is lower my price. Maybe I need to charge less. And there you are that's a perfect example of you solving the wrong problem. It's not about you lowering your price. It's about you elevating your audience, or elevating your message, upgrading your message to speak to people who will be able to afford your price. So that's an example of you solving the wrong problem. And I can see that, like, there's so many variations of that. You're doing marketing, you're not getting the results that you want. You're not getting people messaging you, and you might think, well, maybe I'm super into TikTok right now. So you think like, well, maybe it's that I'm not, like, TikTok isn't the platform for me. Maybe I just need to focus on Facebook or whatever. And maybe that's not the problem at all. Maybe the problem is your message. So it's really about understanding what is the actual problem that you are experiencing in your business. And then for you as a business owner, what is the actual problem that you're solving? Because most people don't know. And I'll come back to this example from yesterday with a client I was talking to. And one of the things that she focuses on helping, well, we're just getting started, so I don't have her message just yet. Okay. But basically she helps people that have dealt with a lot of trauma in their lives, like abuse and trauma from their childhood. And I was asking her, well, what's the problem that they have? And she would tell me, well, that they haven't healed their trauma. And I was like, no, that's the reason for their problem. That's the reason that they have a problem. But what's the problem? And she would say, well, they're experiencing anxiety. I was like, no, that's the consequence of the problem. What's the actual problem? And she was like, I don't know. And this is where I'm stuck at. So we kind of started digging deeper, and we realized that these were people that were feeling very disconnected in their lives, like disconnected from their partners, disconnected from their jobs, disconnected from their businesses. And I was like, okay, that is the problem. That's that's what they're struggling with. The reason for it is that they haven't dealt with, or they haven't healed trauma. And the consequence of it is anxiety or isolation and all these things. But the actual core is something else. So when you understand the problem, everything in your marketing changes. Because if you're saying things like, let me help you overcome anxiety, for example, well, that anxiety from what? Like, it can be so many things, like anxiety for like around food, around relationship, or it can be anything, right? So it's about really getting clear on what is the problem. Because once you get clear on that, everything in your content is going to change. And when I say content, I mean your TikTok videos, your YouTube video, whatever you're doing, right? Your Facebook post, your webinar, your emails, your sales calls, your website, everything changes. And the more specific you are in your message, the more clarity it is. Like, because if I'm a buyer, I'll be like, well, I don't like, this isn't for me. Whereas if I read it and it speaks specifically to the problem that I have, I'll be like, okay, I need to buy this right now, or I need to find out more at least. Does that make sense?
Chapter 2 of my newest book, there is a 7-level problem solving exercise. And it's, you ask yourself what problem you're really trying to solve 7 times. Because it's fascinating to me that in the conversation around self-care, we don't give more weight to clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And because if we're like, you're a business owner, just like, oh, I need more bubble baths because I'm frustrated with my business. Well, maybe you need better messaging, right? Or if you're trying to solve a legal problem with an emotional problem, or emotional problem with a practical problem, right? Or all these things, it's like clarity, people, like clarity is what you need. And that is clarity in mind, clarity in messaging, clarity in your life, clarity about what problem you're trying to solve. It really is the best time and money saving hack I know.
Absolutely. I really feel like for me, it has changed my business having clarity, because listen, this is my area. However, I struggled with messaging too. I mean, I think that we teach what we need most, right? I think that's how the saying goes, or something like that. But I mean, I have an MBA. I have a specialization in branding. I've been doing branding and messaging for years, and yet I still struggled with it for a while. And it wasn't, one thing that I want to clear out is not that I was struggling as in like, oh, I have zero clarity. It was more like, I don't know why I'm hopping on calls with people who are not the right fit, who are not ready to invest or can't afford me, and trying to solve the wrong problem, until I realized I was being the Ursula and my content was speaking to that poor unfortunate soul. Once I shifted that and I shifted my message, everything changed. But clarity for me has changed my business. But actually like real clarity. Again, it's like going deep, like going to the advanced level of clarity, not the basic surface level. Like I used to say things like my core message or thing used to be something like, I help entrepreneurs build brands that attract. Okay. And I thought I was being super specific, but then entrepreneurs is anybody and everybody, right? So I would get on sales calls with people that were like, had an MLM business, which is great, but that's not my expertise. Or had like a local cake shop. Great, but that's not my area of expertise. And I would be frustrated. But then when now I obviously hindsight is 2020. Now I look back and I'm like, duh, what does it even mean? Build brands that attract, like, what does that mean? I don't understand. Who's entrepreneurs? So now I go deeper and I say, I help online coaches, consultants, and experts upgrade their messaging so that they can position themselves as premium brands that attract high-end clients. And I even like take it longer and say, so that they can make weekly high ticket sales. So now everything gets to be more specific. And that clarity in my message now speaks to people that are like, okay, I fall within that. I want to position myself as a premium brand. I want to be able to make weekly high ticket sales. And everything that I'm saying and like in the clarity that I'm bringing in my own message means that I attract people that are like, I want to make high ticket sales. So therefore making a high ticket investment makes sense for me. So it's like how your clarity is just changes the face of your whole business, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense. And I know from following you personally, it also changed, like solving the right problem in your messaging also gave you more time with your family and also gave you more income.
Yeah.
And also give you less time on, I call it like dates, right? You were on phone calls with people and they were like just bad dates. Like they were bad fits for you.
Oh, that's true. I love that. Yeah. 100%. I have 3 kids. I work from home. I have a really cool home office, but I still work from home. 2 of the kids are in school. One of them is 6, the other is 3. So they're in school, but I do have a 1-year-old who is at home, and I pick up my daughters from school at 3:00 in the afternoon, and I spend the afternoon with them, and that's it. Like I don't spend all day working. Yet, despite that, we just came from $100,000 month in my business. This month is incredible already. We're a little bit over 50K cash collected already, and it's like we're growing. But my time isn't growing. My time is like getting easier and easier. Also, because coming back to that clarity piece, yes, I have a lot of clarity in my message, which means that I'm more efficient in who I speak to, who I enroll, all of that. But I also have a lot of clarity in my processes. So I have a lot of one-on-one clients, for example, and sometimes people will be like, I don't know how you can have so many clients at once, but I have a lot of I'm all about processes. So I have systems in place for everything. I know exactly what content I need to be creating. I do that on Friday mornings. Like I have all of these little systems in place that allow me, and I have clarity on exactly what type of content to create each day of the week. This is one of the things I teach my clients as well. Because people are like, I don't know what do I do? How do I get clients? What do I create? And they're like endlessly creating. I'm like, no, this is exactly the type of post that you're going to be creating on Monday. This is the type of, and you can move them around if you want. But I have 4 types of content that we rotate around each week. And all of that clarity just gives me peace of mind, like gives me time to focus and just be like, okay, I'm constantly bringing people in, constantly serving my clients, but I can also be present for my life, which I've also realized is extremely important.
Clarity is kind. Clarity is kind. Fabi, will you tell people where they can find out more about you and your work?
Yes, they can find me, or you can find me everywhere as Fabi Paolini. I'm sure that they can look at the show notes to see how that's spelled, but you can find me on TikTok, which you guys know that I like. I've already said it. On Instagram, on Facebook, fabipaolini.com/leads is a really great PDF that I have on how to upgrade your content to attract better quality leads. So it is really, really good. It has very specific examples. And if you know me, I know most of you guys don't know me. I am somebody who does not create fluffy content. It is really good. Goes super in depth into like, okay, what do they need to do? How do you shift your content to start speaking less to the poor and fortunate soul and more to the people who are ready to buy, so that they don't wear trauma on their t-shirt, right? Is it, or their sleeve?
Yes. Yeah, you put on a t-shirt. First, you take the trauma and put it on your back of your t-shirt. Then you put it in your backpack. Then you just let it go. Let it go.
Exactly. So you don't lead with trauma in your marketing either. So there you go.
Nice. Awesome. Or in your life. Let's just do it, guys. Let's do it. Fabi, thank you so much for helping us on our journey to becoming toxic person proof.
Love it.